Welcome to this instructional video for the Dave Smith Instruments Prophet 12 editor from Soundtower. Let's take a look at the Arpeggiator. Click on Arpeggiator to open this screen. Here you'll see separate arpeggiators for the two independent layers of the Prophet 12. Let's take a look at the controls that are offered. You can adjust the tempo, turn the arpeggiator on and off, select Auto Latch, choose the note value of each step, select the arpeggiator direction, the number of octaves, and the number of repeats. At the bottom of this section is the Lock Notes button. We'll return to this one in a minute. To the right is an overview of the arpeggiator steps and the note velocities. Clicking in this area will open the editing table. The selections made in this feature of the arpeggiator will only function when the Lock Notes button is selected. Across the top are 32 available steps. Down the left side are the available notes. It's important to remember that the notes do not represent the notes that will necessarily be played by the arpeggiator. They will represent the intervals between the steps of the arpeggiator. The actual notes that are sounded will be determined by the note that is played on the keyboard. When Lock Notes is not selected, the notes played by the arpeggiator will be determined by the notes played on the keyboard as a chord. When Lock Notes is on, the notes played by the arpeggiator will be determined by the single note played on the keyboard and will play the intervals that are selected in the table. Below the Lock Note button is a table of a few basic chords that can be applied to the table. Let's explore a few of the details of the arpeggiator and listen to a few examples of what can be done with this great tool. Okay, let's take a look at the arpeggiator. Here we can see the basic controls, and I'll just hold a note on the Prophet 12. No arpeggiation. If I hold multiple notes, I'll just adjust the tempo just a little bit. So I have 16th notes selected and up and down pattern. If I just go up, and down would be obviously the opposite. Let's go back to up and down. If I do repeats, this will give two notes on each step. This will give us kind of a triplet feel. So that's the basic use of the arpeggiator by playing chords on the Prophet 12. It responds the way most arpeggiators would be expected to do. What's interesting here, though, is if we use the Lock Notes feature. So turn this back. Let's turn to no repeats. If we open this, there's a couple concepts we need to understand. These are the steps across the top and the notes down the side. If I am in the up, down, or up and down settings, we can still use the table here. Let's get down here. Here we go. Let me make a couple settings here. There we go. Now, I happen to be playing a C, and I'm going to put a G above it. Turn up the velocity. Now, if I play a D, again, that's giving me the fifth. I'm playing the D, so it's also playing the A. These notes are just indicating the interval between the steps, not the actual notes that are going to be played by the arpeggiator. That's determined by the notes you play on the keyboard. Let's add the A, velocity. Okay, what is interesting here is if I put a bunch of A's, it doesn't change the pattern. It only recognizes the different notes in creating the pattern that you wish. So these ones are being ignored. turn these up because they're just repeats. This is a little counterintuitive in this mode by adding notes, and they're not showing up as you would expect in the arpeggiator. But where this gets real interesting and fun is in the assign and random modes. I can add additional notes. Yep. Velocity. I can add a rest. So in assign and random, it becomes more like a sequencer than an arpeggiator. So we can add, let's add some notes, a bunch of random things here. Oops, more velocity. A silly pattern, but this does show that it will work more as a sequencer than an arpeggiator when in the assign and random modes only. So that's kind of fun. And that's the arpeggiator for the Prophet 12. The Prophet 12 editor is a great way to access all the features and power of this great instrument from Dave Smith. With the easy access to edit the combined arpeggiator and sequencer in the Prophet 12, Soundtower has created a world-class must-have companion. So reach inside your Prophet 12 with the Soundtower Prophet 12 editor. It's so easy.